I want to kick off this episode with some information right out of PlainChangesBook.com, the essential albums, and this is what Nate Channing had to say about the album. What made this album special was its all-star personnel. Kenny Garrett on alto saxophone, Brad Maldonado on piano, Christian McBride on bass, Billy Higgins on the drums. That's 3 generations of excellence, with Higgins embodying the role of elder and sage. It is good to see you guys again tonight. It's been a week.
It's good to be back. Good to be back.
Lots to talk about tonight.
Yeah,
John,
for sure.
This album that we're talking about, John Scofield, 2001 Verve label, man, it brought a lot of information out, didn't it?
It sure
really
did.
Yeah, it works for me too.
Yeah.
Yes. Good one. That was a good one. Pops, that was fun.
That was good.
Yeah, it works. It works for me. What?
Well, all right. Let me start. I want to remind ourselves and I want to remind our listeners why we started. And I'm not going to say it every week, but I think it's important this week. Drew and I actually started this channel 120 weeks ago because we were in a slump. We were tired of listening to the same old music over and over again. I mean, you can only hear 2 Tickets to Paradise for so long until you realize they went to paradise, they got drunk, they come home hungover and got tattoos, and that was the end of the story. So I'm tired of listening to old stale music. I'm ready for new stuff. That's why we started this channel. So we're talking about jazz. That's what we've done for 120 weeks. And yeah, so tonight's album, Works for Me by John Scofield. Let's do some clips. Let's let them listen to some John Scofield before we start talking about it. What do you say?
Matt, I thought you were going to go into the fact that we started to break a rut. Then we found ourselves in a rut listening to 1959, 58 jazz. And now we're trying to break out, wrestling with all the new stuff that's coming out. But you didn't go there. So I agree. Let's go ahead and kick it off with some clips. Dad, what's your clip?
Hey, I'd like to play Not You Again and start it at 5:50. Not You Again. Don't you just love it?
What
That's
a
just
cool clip.
A royal piece right there. And I not only chose it because I've learned to appreciate John Scofield, but I realized who the drummer was on this whole album. Billy Higgins.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be surprised if sometime later we have an opportunity to talk about some of our favorite musicians.
Yes.
And Billy is going to be on a list, buddy. He's going to be there.
All right.
Wow.
Spoiler alert. Dad's going to talk drummers.
That surprise, but he brings it, man. He keeps it. He flows. He's going, and he keeps the whole group together. And Scofield shines like a bright star. I mean, he's all over it. He rivals obviously some of the very best of jazz guitarists. So that's where I'm coming from with this track.
I like the melody of the tune. It's a catchy melody. I found it playing in my brain this week, even when I wasn't listening to the album. It's catchy, and you can feel yourself kind of walking down the sidewalk. Do 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 do. You know, it's a catchy tune. It really is. It's a great clip.
Yeah,
so
good.
every time this came on, the only thing that I could think about was Monsters, Inc. It sounds like something that came out of that. So I got a laugh out of it, and I loved it, but it got so catchy that during the week, I'm walking around going, ba-doo-ba-doo-doo-doo, ba-doo-ba-doo-doo-doo. So
That's good. That's good.
That's awesome.
Now I'm going to have to go back and watch Monsters Inc. and see what tune they do play.
Yeah. There's some fun music in that. So
yeah,
fun music.
Yeah.
What about
Matt,
you,
where are you coming from, Matt?
Let's start song number 11 for me. The song number 11 is called Free Pie, and start me right at 45 seconds, and I'll kind of explain why I chose this clip over another. I had a hard time picking clips this week, so I picked this one not randomly or without thought, but it was I don't know. Yeah, just go ahead and play my clip.
All right, I'll stop it there.
Okay. It's a short track anyways at 2 minutes and 15 seconds. It's called Free Pie, song number 11 on the track. And all the other compositions on the album are written by John, but this one is composed by all of the musicians. So Brad had a hand in it, Christian and Billy had a hand in it, and of course Kenny Jarrett on the sax. So it's kind of like a little free jam, just a little jam session that they were doing. You know, I just enjoyed it. That's what it was. I enjoyed the little tune because it was light, it was easy to listen to, and it wasn't how do you say overbearing. Everyone got to shine for a few seconds. So that's what I liked about it.
Yeah, 2 minutes, 16 seconds was the length of it. It almost wraps it up in a nice little bow. And it may have been done earlier in the day. Who knows the order in which it was recorded, but it seems like a good way to end the album just by saying, we've had a fun time. Now we're goofing around. Hit record.
Yeah.
Drew, where are you coming from?
I was torn like Matt was about which song to listen to. There's so much great music in here. And one of the songs I wanted to listen to just really reflects the musicianship of all of them together. And each time I kept looking at that, I'm like, but I really want to focus on this moment here. So I've chosen Big J, and I'm going to start it at 3 minutes, and it's going to focus on Brad Mehldau. to me, just hearing Brad play that, if you listen through the whole album for Brad, you hear his versatility. There's a moment in a couple of songs where it sounds like he's going to break out with some classical music. There's some moments when he starts breaking out with some bebop stuff. There's a moment when he just relaxes and sounds like a Cone concert kind of moment where he just floats off into Never Never Land. But he's always central, somewhere in there filling in notes. And we've heard that through some great pianists in the past. Then, of course, you hear John come in and Kenny come in behind it just to come back to the head of the song, just the way in which they fill in, and Brad keeps just on moving through his rhythm. I love that.
I like what Nate Chennin wrote, again, on playingchangesbook.com. It says, listen to what Maldo does behind Scofield, punctuating pauses and answering questions. Yeah. And I'm so glad you picked that clip. And I got to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you, I got to be honest. The first couple of times listening through this album, I didn't look at who was on the album. I didn't. And I'm thinking, oh, this is John Scofield. You know, I'm going to enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it until I looked at who's who and who is what. And then and then my enjoyment of it came through even more today, listening to it again, but only listening for Brad. I thought to myself, this is my brain, the whole album, I thought, this is Brad's album. And so I was listening for Brad. I wasn't listening for John. I was listening for Brad. Okay. So that's how I listened to it today. And I'm so glad I did, because I actually changed my score.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's interesting, because for me, the first couple of times listening to it, I felt the flow of it. And then today, like you were listening for Brad, I was listening for Billy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But this clip that you did, Drew, Christian McBride is all over it.
That's the thing. Let's listen to it again this coming week, and only listen to it as a Christian McBride album and see how much Christian comes through. And you think, wow, that just changes the whole album, because knowing or thinking that it's a Christian McBride album instead of a John Scofield album, boom, it blows your mind. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting how the different environment, you're driving in your car, you're not going to hear the bass as well. You have on generic earphones or something random, put on the good ones, enjoy it. Put it on at your home stereo and enjoy it. When you start to hear Christian in the back there, man, he is just all over the place, and it's fun.
There are times when Christian just sticks to the quarter notes, and you think, wow, he's really laying back here. He could be doing so much more, but his finesse on the bass is what gets you, because then when it is time to unleash, he can unleash like nobody else.
It's that moment like learning to solo. You build it. You start with some easy, you start with flow, and then you get into the meat and the potatoes of it, and then you can back out of it or just leave it hanging. And that's what he does really great. Kenny does too, though. I mean, Kenny, make no mistake.
Kenny adds the carrots to the meat and potatoes because I like cooked carrots.
Well, Matt, it's interesting because the quote out of the Playing Changes book, when you said, listen to John Scofield, pardon me, listen to what Brad does behind Scofield, punctuating pauses and answering questions. And then it goes on to say that Garrett brings good sriracha blast of tartness and heat before Master Higgins does a build of a amicable thrashing over the vamp. And that's it. He brings the sriracha to it. Everybody brought their flavor to this album, which is, for me, one of the reasons why it is like I saw the words, it's an all-star, superstar cast of members.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
It's a smorgasbord is what it is. It's a smorgasbord. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's just move right into it.
Let's do it.
like I've said for 120 weeks now, whatever you do it to jazz. You're going to hear in our week in music coming up in just a little bit. That's pretty much what we do. We're finally out of our rock and roll rut, and we're moving into the jazz and staying out of our jazz rut and putting new music into our ears as well. We are using the list from Nate Chinnon's book called Playing Changes. Nate wrote a book, and he, at the end of the book, he included 129 albums that he felt are essential, and he broke them down by years. And we are on the year 2001. So far, we've covered the Chicago Underground Quartet, John Hollenbeck, Marilyn Crispell, Kurt Rosenwinkel, and tonight, John Scofield. Those names were all new to us. I mean, Chicago Underground Quartet, I had never heard of. We heard another Chicago group that we didn't really care for. John Hollenbeck was a brand new name. Now, the musicians that played with Marilyn Crispell, we knew some of those names, but Kurt Rosenwinkel, again, because we started this new journey, we had heard Kurt's work before with Brian Blade Fellowship, but other than that, we didn't know Kurt Rosenwinkel too much. So that's kind of where I was with John Scofield as well. I knew some of John's work, but I'm enjoying this week, really diving in. So his book is available at Amazon.com or your local bookstore, or if you're lazy like we are, playingchangesbook.com/essential albums.
I would say not lazy, but hungry for more data. You can also go to the website.
Thank you. Yes, hungry for more data, because if you don't get enough smorgasbord with John Scofield, then come back to the smorgasbord for Nate Chinnon's take on the albums as well. I just put a brief bio together. We used to do a whole big slideshow, but I'm keeping it real small and simple. I thought it was really cool that John was born in Dayton, Ohio. So, Dad, he's a Buckeye.
Yep. Go Bucks.
Yeah, worthless nuts. I also found it cool while I was reading about John this week. He left Berkeley to record with Chet Baker and Jerry Mulligan. So, of course, you know what that means, right? I had to go listen to Jerry Mulligan play with John Scofield this week. Shucks.
and you remember the Jerry Mulligan album that we did in the top 100 jazz albums? We've listened to him play with these guys.
You're right.
So
You're right.
It shouldn't have surprised us who he was, but when I saw the name, I'm like, yep, I'm going to have to go listen to Chet Baker this week.
Well, okay, moving right along then, in 1982, he joined Miles Davis's group for 3 years.
Yes.
So comes as no surprise that we've heard him play with Miles and heard his work. So, you know, that comes as no surprise either. In 1990, he formed his own quartet with Joe Lovano, Charlie Hayden, and Jack DeJohnette. I mean, you want to talk about a superstar all-star cast, that's another all-star dream team for John to play with. And he played with them for 5 or 6 years together in the 90s. Yeah. In the 2000s, he came up with the Uber Jam and the Up All Night albums, both of which I believe were nominated for Grammys. So I just thought that was a cool fact, Uber Jam and Up All Night. And then again, 4 Grammy nominations and 3 Grammy wins for jazz albums for John Scofield. I don't need, that's just cool. That's just absolutely amazing to me. So I just dug it. Those are the facts about John Scofield. I did go ahead and put a quote up here by John, and I actually printed that quote out and put it here on my desk so I can look at it all week, every week of the coming journey. When you compare music, you lose the joy of listening to it. That's what I found myself doing at the beginning of the week when I was listening to John Scofield. He's not Kurt Rosenwinkel. He's not Pat Metheny. I don't enjoy it because he's not this. And then when I read his quote and pulled his foot out of my mouth because he was kicking my teeth in with the quote, I really, really started to enjoy the album. And I do it a lot. You know, I did it with Kurt last week. Oh, he's so much like Pat Metheny. I really like it. And comparing, okay, it was easy because I was comparing something I liked to something I liked even more. And this week it didn't work for me. So stop comparing. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what he's saying.
You also begin to hear the voices differently. How do they play? Why do they play? Which led me to watch the John Scofield information with Rick Beato. There's a documentary that's out there, or his movie that's out there, and in the short highlight of it, it says he tours 200 days a year, and it has been. The man just loves to play his music. So then you go back to the albums. I've listened to his funk music a lot this week as well. And after hearing the funk, you come back to this album and go, oh my word. I stop comparing this or that and just ask, what do I think about this album? Do I dig it? Do I not? And all day today, I'm like, I dig this album. I really do.
That's where I was too. That's exactly where I was. Yeah. Okay. You know what? That does it for my portion of the slideshow. I just want to say thank you. You can find out more information about us and John Scofield at theunconnoisseur.com. That's our website. We also have a merchandise website up there, a link in our website that you can go buy t-shirts and coffee mugs and mouse pads and everything else at the Unconnoisseur merchandise store. We run a 24-hour radio channel called WTUR.org. You can pull that up on your computer or on your mobile device and listen to jazz 24 hours a day, commercial free. For podcasts, if you don't like looking at our face and you just want to hear us talk about jazz or a specific album, you can always go to Amazon, iTunes, and Spotify and check out our podcast. We are getting a lot of great hits from the Spotify listeners, and I just want to say thank you, Spotify listeners, for tuning us in. I really, really dig it. If you do want to see our faces, though, always come back to the YouTubes, and you can watch our episodes as well. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that bell to get notified of when our new episodes drop. All right, I've been talking for a while. Dad, it's your turn. Why don't you tell us what's new?
What's new?
I'd love to do that. What's new this week? Mammal Hands. The album is called Shadow Hands. Shadow Work. Sorry, Shadow Work. This was released in 2017, 10/3, October 3rd, 2017. I really messed up this week because normally I look for albums that are 25, 26, and I saw this album, I listened to it, and I thought, bada bing, bada boom, and I wasn't really paying attention to 2017. But here we have this beautiful album. Yes.
Dad, if you dig it, it's worth highlighting, and it's still newer than 2001. So,
and it's new. It's new to us, so it may not be new to our listeners, but it may be new to our listeners who've never heard of Mammal Hands.
So tell us more.
10 songs. It's roughly 47, 48 minutes long, and it's the label. I think it's their own label. It's Gondwana label, Gondwana Records. I believe this is their third album. They've had many more after that, including one in 2026 and 2025, but be that as it may. Members include somebody by the name of Jordan Smart, who is a sax player. His brother, Nick Stewart, is a pianist, and Jesse Barrett is a drummer, and he plays a tabla. I didn't know what a tabla was. So out of my curiosity, I looked up what a tabla was. It's actually two drums, hand drums, that come from the subcontinent, from India, that it's more of a Hindu instrument, played at a lot of ceremonial gatherings. So it's Hindu classical music, actually. And so I'd suggest our listeners check out Mammal Hands, the album called Shadow Hands.
Shadow Work.
That's what I said, Shadow Work.
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah. So there you go. Enjoy it, y'all. Enjoy listening to this work.
Don't stop the episode to go listen to it. Just make a mental note, drop it into your favorite streaming music platform, and go to it right after we're finished.
Exactly. Thank you.
I look forward to this. I'm partial to the cover, so I'm digging this. Looks like a tintype. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back into the discussion about John Scofield, because that's who we're here to talk about tonight. What do you say?
Absolutely. John
Ready?
Scofield in the album. That works for me.
Works for me.
2001, Verve label. It had some of the most banging musicians on it that we've enjoyed so far. Obviously, John Scofield on the guitar, Kenny Garrett on the alto sax, Brad Maldonado on the piano, Christian McBride rolling that bass, and Mr. Billy Higgins. The quote earlier about 3 generations. Billy Higgins was born in 1936. He started rocking and rolling in 1958, and he was on an album that I have especially grown fond of. His early start was with Ornette Coleman. Mm-hmm. And in 1958, he recorded with Coleman on Something Else, not to be confused with somebody else's Something Else. And then in 1959, The Shape of Jazz to Come, Mr. Billy Higgins was drumming on that. Then you get John Scofield that starts in 1970, Kenny Garrett in 78, Brad Maldonado begins in 88, and Christian McBride is active from 1989. The only one still not with us was Billy Higgins, passed in 2001. So these musicians have, imagine that opportunity to sit with Billy Higgins, the legacy of it. And then you've got John Scofield working with him, whose legacy begins in some of that electronic Miles Davis and earlier stuff, who's doing funk. Billy stretching his boundaries, John stretching his, and then you dump in Kenny Garrett on top of that just to have fun with everybody, and then these youngsters, Brad and Christian. Imagine what it's like for those two to be rocking out with those legacy musicians. To me, that's what hit me the hardest when I went back this week, last 2 days listening to it, is what does it feel like to be them playing with these 3?
Well, okay. I'm just looking through the list. I'm just looking through the list. I mean, he's Yoda. Billy Higgins is Yoda. Okay.
Right.
He played with Roy Hargrove. He played with Pat Metheny. Of course, he was on most every Lee Morgan album.
Yep.
Maybe all of them, from what I'm looking at. But yeah, you're right. You're sitting there with a giant, with a jazz giant, okay? And each of these guys are giants in their own right, but you're sitting there with Yoda, and he says, start playing, I'll catch up.
Yeah.
It's right at the beginning of the album, and every time I listen to it, I find it hilarious. He's like, you just start, man. I got myself. You start, I'll catch up.
Oh, that's funny. Hey, hang on. Let's see if I can find that real quick.
Yeah, find it real quick.
You just play it and I'll catch you.
Yeah.
That's funny.
In other words, I got this, man. Just start and we'll get it done.
Yeah.
That's what I hear when I hear him say that.
The other thing you learn from looking at Scofield, this man's been around a long time.
Yeah.
He started playing guitar at age 11, and he moved into it almost right away. I was going to say immediately, but I'm sure it took some time for his name to spread. This guy's he's 74 years old. He has been around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays like he's been around. He's good.
In the intro to this documentary that or the movie, I forget what the name of it is, he says that if I go a day without playing, man, I feel like I'm just going to lose it. He loves to go on tour. Imagine for 70 years, 65 years being on tour. 150 to 200 days a year. The man can play, and he's played with everybody. I found it interesting that he also played in the early 70s with Gary Burton.
With Gary Burton, yes.
So we've talked about Pat. We've talked about Rosenwinkel. Now we're talking about John Scofield. These guitarists, especially from Berkeley, are playing with Gary Burton. So I'm almost wanting to put a lineup of Gary and all of the guitarists that went through Gary Burton. If you want to become somebody to be a good guitarist, you're going to have to go through Gary Burton first.
The Burton School of Guitar.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Subgenre of Berkeley music.
Oh, man. The other thing, Matt, that hit me is that I forget to look who's played on what. When we've listened to it, we've seen these names over and over. We knew Brad Mehldau before Jacob's Ladder and The Art of the Trio because an album that you said you need to listen to, Michael Brecker's Pilgrimage. And I'm like, well, Brad was on 4 of the tracks on that. I can't believe that it just never stands out. When I think of Pilgrimage, I think of Herbie Hancock. But Brad was on 4 of the tracks on that album. And then, of course, you look at Billy Higgins' The Shape of Jazz to Come, and it's like, man, how many people have played with how many people? And this is where I think for us, all of these albums are starting to come together. We now recognize the names. Terrence Blanchard on trumpet or Christian McBride on the bass. We're starting to recognize Brad Mehldau. We see the Kurt Rosenwinkel more and more, and we'll see Scofield again, I'm sure. So now there's familiarity to it. We have a common connection to it.
That's what I was always worried about listening to jazz in the first place. I don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room about jazz, but I don't want to be that complete idiot who can't carry on a 5-minute conversation about a jazz album or a jazz musician. And for me, before we started this journey, the only one that I could talk about would be Pat Metheny. and this journey has opened my eyes to so many other artists that now if somebody asks me what kind of jazz should I listen to, I say, well, what instrument do you want to hear? Do you want to hear the piano? Do you want to hear the drums? Do you want to hear the bass? What year of music do you want something new? You want something old? What do you want to hear? You want to hear a trumpet player? I've got recommendations that I can name off.
Let's go shopping for jazz. Let me open the catalog.
Yeah, right. And again, I don't ever want to be the smartest person. I want to continue learning about jazz, but man, I was always scared because I didn't know the names of people when they were talking about them. And so now, like you said, it's this full circle moment where, oh, Kurt Rosenwinkel. Oh yeah, he played on that album. He played on this album. Oh, Billy Higgins. Yeah, we know what Billy Higgins has played on.
Everything in the jazz catalog.
Yeah, just about.
He's played the R&B. He's played the funk. He's played some rock and roll. He's played the hard bop. He was there at the hard bop. He's played it all. Everybody.
And then while you're listening to Miles, you realize that Scofield played on 3 of his albums because he toured with Miles for 3 years. So mind blown.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I could talk all night about trumpet players. Hint, hint, hint.
You may.
I may.
Hey. Wow.
You may. So I'm guessing that I'm hearing here that there was a lot of excitement about this week's album. It hit us all pretty well. It really did. It hit me well.
It did, but it took me several days for it to punch me in the face and say, wake up.
What did you think about the track Loose Cannon? There were parts of that close to the end I wrote it down at 5:40 that stretched me a little bit. It was
okay.
Just seemed to be, for me, it seemed to be out of place with the overall album. But when I think about the title of the track, Loose Cannon, it seems to fit. But I was distracted at that point in that song.
Dad, I think it's fair to say, let's take a listen to it real quick at 5:40.
Okay.
Loose Cannon. I think that's enough said. There's a loose goose and a loose cannon.
Yeah.
It is one of those. It's one of those moments, and I thought with the last track being Free Pie, I was kind of looking forward to it. Maybe it was a free jazz thing. It was the absolute opposite. So yeah, they did throw a couple of curveballs in here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think, and I watched the concert that you sent over, the YouTube link. I watched that.
Yes, I
yesterday,
need to put that above you. That was the what was it called? Fast and hot,
slow, quiet and loud.
Quiet and loud. Yes, I'll put that above you right now.
Yeah, and I think, again, put yourself into the club scenario or even the studio scenario where you're recording and they just want to have fun. And that's what he's doing there when the clip that you're playing for Dad, they're just goofing off, having fun. And he doesn't want to play in time. So he honks, you know, I don't know. I enjoyed it.
I love the approach of that. The way you said in the club, they're just having fun. I'll tell you about my week in music in a little bit, but I experienced that last night when the leader grabbed his horn and decided he was going to play too. I'll tell you more about that shortly to come.
Well, and Dad, since you said it, some of the standout tracks for me on this album were song number 1, I'll Catch You. I just love the head, just love the melody of that song. Song number 5, Love You Long Time. You've got McBride's bass work on that tune that I really concentrated on every time I listened to it. And then Heel to Toe, song number 7 on the album for me. That was another standout. Just the whole composition of it really, I just liked it. I mean, there's really not a bad tune on this album, but those are the highlights for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I almost chose Heel to Toe to highlight for our track to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a mean track, man. That's good stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and then if you really want to hear Christian McBride, song number 5, Love You Long Time, he does some amazing work on that track. Yeah. So I'm a Christian McBride fan too. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I say we do this. We've discussed it. What else do you want to say? Do you want to just get to the rating?
I do.
Or you guys, Dad's got something.
Let me say this. For me, this is a taste of true jazz, right? And if somebody were to ask me, how could I get started with a jazz album? I would hope that this album would come to my mind and say, you got to check out Schofield's track and check him out. Almost anything that he's done in terms of jazz, a person could go to and appreciate. So, but that works for me, man. It works for me.
I appreciate that about you, because he wouldn't be the first one to come to my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
This album though does, because it the words that I put, it harkens back to the early style of jazz. Everything that we've appreciated from that root ball of where jazz began, this harkens back to that time where we're putting things together that have the feeling, the emotion, all the things that we loved about the 50s jazz and the 60s jazz. So it harkens to that, but it brings all of the new stuff into it as well. So there's a great mixture, even with the free jazz and loose cannon. So, yeah. But I'll say this. John Scofield, is a multi-Grammy award-winning guitarist and composer, and they put him up here with, they said top 3. I saw this top 3: Pat Metheny, Bill Frisell, and John Scofield. And I kept reading about other guitarists, and I'm like, but you got to put John Abercrombie up there. And so there are 4 greats that are listed, and Scofield is one of them. A unique sound, a unique style. He's been able to cover bebop, jazz fusion, funk, blues, soul, and rock. He is a versatile guitarist that harken back to jazz on this week's album.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm not going to. Okay, great. He's in the top 5. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If I did a top 5 guitarists, I'd put him in there. For sure. It'd be tough in top 5 because you got to go back to the beginning of it, and Gypsy Jazz is Django.
Right.
Then you got to go to Christian.
Ian Christensen.
I wasn't going that. I was thinking Wes Montgomery, but Wes got Charlie Christian.
Charlie Christian.
And then Wes Montgomery picked up where Charlie left. So I would put those. It's tough because which generation? And I think that's the important part listening to Billy Higgins play is what generation do you want to highlight him as? He's a jazz giant, but he's been a jazz giant for 60 years before he passed away. Yeah. So, I mean, come on. So, yeah, guitarists of all times, man, I'm gonna get some ugly responses for all times because I still love Django and Wes Montgomery.
Right.
But
okay, all right. Let's put it out there. Let's rate.
Start it.
All right. So this week, for me, based on the criteria that we use from Joe Coker's book, the craftsmanship, the awareness, the creativity, the spirit, the big one for me this week was the emotion. I wish I could go higher, but just because of the emotion of the album, it's an 8.5 for me this week. The craftsmanship was definitely there. He crafted a very good album. The awareness between the musicians. You just start off, I'll catch up. I'll catch you. Okay? That's awareness. That's the epitome of awareness. And creativity, because you had free jazz, you had free pie, you had, it's a beautiful album. The spirit of jazz is definitely there for me. But 8.5 for me.
Good. What about you, Dan?
I'm scoring it at 9. I gave it a 9 this week because of the creativity, the interaction, the blending of these musicians, their awareness of each other, their flexibility with each other, obviously the craftsmanship, the composition itself and the way this composition flowed. So I'm scoring it at a 9 this week.
Shebang.
Yeah.
Much for the same reason y'all got into it. The craftsmanship, the awareness, the creativity, the spirit and the drive behind this. To put a group together like that spirit behind all of this, those kids came out to have fun. And they recorded themselves doing just that. And so to me, I loved listening to it. I can't imagine what Billy Higgins is experiencing watching these 4 young folks in front of you just have a great time. And as the sage, as the wise man behind him, what's really going through his mind as he drums, thinking about all of the years that he's played with all of the greats. To me, I started to get emotional thinking about the history in that. And it harkens back to that idea. Who's the disciple of who? Everybody's come from somebody. Everybody's been influenced by somebody. And it all started somewhere. And so to me, I loved it. The most important thing, I can't lie, it harkened back to jazz. It's period. It's what I fell in love with listening to jazz. That style, the flow, Billy,
it's not a branch. It's not a branch. It's the trunk.
It's the trunk. And if it is a branch, it's the first split of that tree. It's no tiny little branches. It's something that I can step on, something that I can hold on to and climb on. It's jazz to me. However, the awareness that they had, the pocket that everybody lived in while they were playing, the craftsmanship of that. I didn't go to a 10, but I did land at 9.5. And I think, to me, I wanted more, even though it was still an hour-long album. I could have done a little bit more. So maybe that's why I went 9.5 instead of a 10. But I loved it, and I will listen. I will listen to it again. The other thing that shaped my 9.5 is I did about 5 other of his funk albums, and it was so much fun listening to his versatility, period. So I did get into the funk of it. So while I'm warmed up, go ahead.
Yes. No, that's exactly what I was going to say.
While I'm warmed up, I want to tell you a little bit about my week. We've wrapped up a lot of big projects, so I'm seeing the finish line. I had one more hit the books last night, so I'm scrambling for that. But all week long, we've been finishing up some work. It's been great. I've got a lot of things out, a lot more video on the cutting table. Last week, midweek, we were told New School of Music is doing a concert on Sunday night, and it was going to have the Cedars International School, middle school and high school bands, led by a phenomenal drummer, a world touring drummer. So they're coming in to do their concert. They're going to have about 20 or 30 minutes to do their thing, and then we're going to do our concert as jazz ensemble. So what are we going to play? That was my first question. And then the text came again. Can I have you record it and document this? So we have it. So, okay, cool. I'm off the hook. I'm not going to play. I'll take my pictures. I'll set up the video rig. These kids can play. Hallelujah. Pressure's off. Last night, there was a concert at Parker's Jazz, and then there was the Texas Youth Jazz Orchestra concert. So most all of our big jazz players were missing. So I had 2 new trumpet players. Michael's really good, so I'm not going to say new. But a new trumpet player, Michael and myself on trumpets, and Lily was the sax player. We had a bass player, and we had our vocalist. And at the last minute, a guitarist who hadn't been with us in a month and a half happened to show up for the night, so he jumped in. But that wasn't until Richard Spencer had already grabbed his guitar and was planning on joining us. So we made it work. We played for about 40 minutes. We had some vocal tunes. We had some vocal tunes with us to back up riffs with, and then we played some horn tunes. And Joe had said everybody's going to solo on everything, and he meant it. So, Lily did well. And at the end of the night, the drummer came up to Lily and said, all your solos took a different direction from the rest of it. And she was like, is that a compliment? And he goes, oh, yeah. What you heard was so phenomenal. It was so cool to listen to just you rip it. So which she thanked him for that. So it was a fun night. Now I've got video to edit and photos that hopefully the guy I handed the camera to got some pictures of us on stage. If not, there'll be pictures from the video camera to share on stills. But it was a great night. So all of my week of busy video photography, all this stuff is culminating into one wrap up. So I'll get everything done tomorrow, and hopefully everything's exported by Wednesday. So
I know it's easier to say than do, but you said you got nervous because you had to play, right?
Oh yeah.
It's easier to say than it is to do, but remember, it's not brain surgery. It's not mortar fire. You don't have to be right 100% of the time. It's music, man. Everyone's there to have fun. Just have fun.
We started ours with Blue Monk.
And you know that tune.
I know the tune.
You know that tune inside now.
I settled into it, and when I started to play, I closed my eyes, and what I felt for the first time, Matt, was here I am. I'm going to put it all out there. And when I started to play, I was like, oh, this is what it's like to... I haven't listened to it, so it may be horrible. But, dude, whatever it was what I was feeling. And and it wasn't until after the song I was like, ooh, that's kind of like bearing your soul to the world. So it felt good. Yeah. It's just fun.
Yeah.
There is no wrong note. It's the second note that you play that's wrong.
It's note after that's wrong.
And if you play them fast, it sounds like you meant to do it. So it was a super great night to end a busy week, and I'm appreciative of it. So
good deal. Good deal. All right. Well, let me go next, huh? Please. So I had a lot of other John in my ear this week. You recommended A Go-Go. That's John's album from 1998. So I listened to that, not on repeat, but I did listen a lot. The Bump album from 2000. I like to go the album before and the album after to hear if there's any major shifts in how they play. I couldn't go a week without Pat Metheny, so I did John Scofield and Pat Metheny, I Can See Your House From Here from 1994. That's a super, super chill album. I've listened to that album before. Being a Pat Metheny fan, I'm never going to not listen to Pat Metheny.
Right before we hit record, you heard me say, I can see Russia from my house.
I can see Russia from my house.
I was thinking, I can see your house from here.
Right. I knew what you were getting at, except the Saturday Night Live skit stuck in my head more. And then I did from 2003, Up All Night, the John Scofield Band, which I wrote in my notes that I freaking love that album because it's the John Scofield Band and not just him. So I did the 1992 album Grace Under Pressure, except I couldn't make it all the way through that because I had to go listen to the original Grace Under Pressure by Rush. all I could think about after I turned the album on is this is not Grace Under Pressure. I got to go listen to the real Grace Under Pressure. So I broke off and listened to the Rush album. I found a new big band this week. So I downloaded several albums from Stephen Feifke. Stephen Feifke has a jazz orchestra. I did the album Point of View from 2025 from Stephen Feifke and Blue Lou Marini, sax player. Okay. Stephen is a piano player, does some great compositions. I really enjoyed Stephen this week as well. So it's just a new name for me. I think it was a TikTok video or something that I was watching. And of course, because we're talking about jazz and listening to jazz all the time, I'm uber sensitive to anything that comes through that I haven't heard or seen. So as soon as I see those things, man, I jump on it. So other than that, I had a great week listening and talking about John. I'm going to let you tell all about it. Yes, I am.
All right.
No.
Stop jacking around. Who's telling what? Come on. Get the goods.
All right, Dad. Tell us your week of music.
Friday night. This past Friday night, the family, that is Matt and Kendra, Mom and I, Grace and a couple of her friends were there at the Angola Commons Park, where Hubie Ashcraft played. The drummer was none other, Drew, than your niece, Delaney Rice.
Hubie Ashcraft on the drums.
Is one of the biggest artists in this area. And he is all over the place in terms of venues and locations. Not only did Delaney play drums in that concert, I don't remember her name, the violinist who plays for Alabama.
Megan Mullins Owen, and she does play for Alabama. She was born right here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So Hubie always loves to bring big time musicians back to Fort Wayne. It's good for him, but it's also good for us because she's played at the Grand Ole Opry, she plays for Alabama, Randy Owen. So she's played for some very, very big names.
And Missy Burgess was the bass guitarist and vocalist. Missy's been a family friend since, good heavens, since she was in elementary school. So it was a fantastic, just wonderful concert in the park. What else you want to say, Matt?
You know, I was more nervous for Delaney than Delaney was for Delaney, and I didn't need to be. I knew I didn't need to be. After the show was over, I went up and introduced myself to Hubie. I probably had talked to him before, but he's met Delaney before anyways. He could not say enough good about Delaney. He had so much fun playing with her. She did so well. She kept right with us, and I never had to worry about Delaney, is what he told me. So that made me feel real, real good.
And if I understand, they didn't even get a run through. So she walks up there cold, knowing the songs. Obviously, she's.
Yeah.
They're playing some old country, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's boom chick country, but you got to know when to start. You got to know when to stop. And if he takes a vamp or something, you got to know that he's ready to vamp and cut off.
Yeah.
And she just somehow knew. I don't know. I don't know whether he was giving her cues somehow, but she's amazing.
You start to read those people,
Yeah, but he's different. And I've talked to Missy before, years ago, about his style and the way that he just moves from song to song to song. And, some of the other bands that she's played in, they'll take a 2-minute break between songs, and they'll sit there and retune the guitar and tell stories, this, that. Hubie does not do that, man. It's song. He says, thank you so much for having us, and then song, and hey, I'm having a great time here, and then song. It's yeah. Keep going with your week, though.
The other thing that I call attention to is your cousin Nate Goldsmith. On Saturday afternoon, we went to Adrian, Michigan, roughly an hour and 45 minutes from home. And Nate, the man, was Jesus and Jesus Christ Superstar. Wow. And I'm telling you, he was a superstar. After the performance, I said, I've got to have a picture with Jesus. I got to have a picture with Jesus. Unfortunately, he had taken his wig off and his costume off, and he came out with basic street clothes, which I can expect. Yeah. But I'm telling you, it was fantastic. His voice, his vocal range, his situation with the rest of the performers, his acting, the kid was all over it. Man, he was all over it as Jesus and Jesus Christ Superstar.
Wow.
So though it's unfortunate, not a whole lot of other people could have seen it, been there. It was done in the Coswell Auditorium, which is, I believe, Michigan's oldest theater.
Wow.
And third oldest in the country. So it draws a lot of attention. And that's Friday night and Saturday night. Throughout the week, I've listened to a whole host of music. I don't need to go into all of it, but I've listened to a lot of stuff.
Good.
So thank you for the opportunity to share those highlights with you. Good night, everyone. Thank you.